Hello. This is the sixth episode of the Deliberate Talks podcast, and it's always great to be here week on week to reform our capabilities. I'm your only host on the show, Dakshin Adyanthaya, and in today's conversation, we intend to recce YouTube marketing and interpret its significance for our businesses. But you know the drill. Here are a few things to prep you up about our treasured social media platform for videos. So, did you know the first video posted on YouTube was back in 2005 from the San Diego Zoo? The Gangnam Style was so popular that it broke the YouTube's video counter. Also, 1 billion hours of YouTube content is watched every day. But did you know, I am the bald guy comment made by Seth Everman is the most liked comment on YouTube with 2.1 million likes. So those were some fun facts for today. Now it's time to meet our episode expert. But before that,
this is the Deliberate Talks weekly podcast, powered by the Pixelated Egg Digital Ventures. Tune in every week to learn something new about digital marketing and entrepreneurship. And now, over to the voice of your host, Dakshin Adyanthaya. Enjoy the show.
And today, our guest is the Digital Capability Program Lead for the India agency business at Google. Having spent over 7+ years at Google India, she has worked across policies, products, sales, and now strategy. When she isn't at work, she focuses on upskilling NGOs on their brand strategy and maximizing digital advertising to serve their cause. Here's introducing Sneha Basu.
Thanks a lot, Dakshin. I'm really pleased to be here.
Thank you, Sneha, for being a part of the Deliberate Talks podcast. Let's get straight into the conversation of understanding the current scenarios. You know, Facebook and Instagram have seen significant rise in live videos, and since the spends have taken a backseat for brands, what has it been like on YouTube marketing front? Could you share some current trends and highlights on how YouTube marketing has been performing?
You know, live or not, I think in terms of our digital platforms, obviously marketing spends have been reduced, right? And that's a factor of our economy. So that is universal. But the truth is that while there are two parts of marketing, right? There's performance marketing and there's brand marketing. Now, most businesses, they depend on their sales for performance marketing, right? And the truth is that digital is the cheapest media, right, to get the targeted audience. So I think in terms of performance marketing, what we see, and I think as a whole, what digital tends to see is that performance marketing, most brands are coming back, right? They are coming back. There was a pause, and then most brands are coming back in terms of performance marketing, and I don't see that decline as of now. In terms of brand, right, I was reading this article as soon as lockdown actually began, and they spoke about how during a recession, right, it is a blank slate. So essentially, digital right now is a whiteboard, right? Think of it as a whiteboard. And people are increasingly consuming digital media, but brands are receding spends in terms of brand marketing. Our biggest CPG brands, auto, BFSI brands, understand this. They also understand that if they don't use this whiteboard for the consumer at the moment, it'll show or it will literally have repercussions on their business for the next 2 years. Right? Most big brands are coming back. They are slowly working back their spends on both brand marketing and performance marketing. I don't think they really have a choice.
But while considering all those factors and while building a YouTube marketing strategy, what are the factors that a brand should consider to successfully see results?
So I think currently or not, right, Dakshin, I think everyone's marketing strategy completely differs. And current or not, I think two things that are important is, and I think two things that I've seen a lot of brands not always do the best of. One is ensure that your consumer experience on your platform, right, whether it is your website or whether it is someone getting in touch with you, is seamless. Now, what we can do for you is take people to your website, right? If it's a bad consumer experience, after that, there's going to be a drop-off rate. And hence, your bounce rate is high or the consumer experience is not good, right? People are not going to come back to you. So that's one. And I think the second piece is that what we tend to assume is that we don't know the person behind the screen just because we've always been so used to print, radio, TV. right? But the truth is, on digital, we know the person behind the screen. So if you know the person behind the screen, you should be talking to the person contextually, right? So that's really creating for YouTube. That again, I've seen a slow shift in the last few years, but especially now, you need to make sure that your message lands in the most efficient manner. And hence, your creative strategy or your content should be completely aligned to the audience that you're targeting, right? So contextual targeting is, I think, everything on digital.
Makes sense. So, content strategy and targeting all need an understanding, and that's where the challenge is. You are an active part of training individuals and businesses about YouTube and other Google products. What do you think are the brand or agency challenges that you often encounter while training?
So Dakshin, I think that's a very similar challenge that we face as Googlers is really keeping up with the engineers. They just evolve so fast. We have over 7 properties that have over 1 billion users. The truth is that our engineers are always working on making our products better, more seamless, right? Helping advertisers get more targeted. So I think, especially because I'm in the business or I'm in the function of upskilling agencies and brands, right? What I feel is that many times you can't blame them because they have a day-to-day job. So I have literally 2 hours every day, every single day, to sit back and learn our updates on product. Now, every brand or agency is not going to have the luxury of doing that. So I don't think it's a fault, or I don't think it's anything that is lacking on anyone's part. But what I've actually seen that has been a silver lining with this whole lockdown is that people have been spending more time upskilling themselves. That before people were just used to running with the business, and today people understand that, hey, you know what, we need to move more digital. There's no other way to do it. And if we need to move more digital, we need to spend some time every single day upskilling ourselves. And I think that's also being overcome as a problem. So I think that was the biggest problem that, like I said, is being overcome at the moment.
Interesting. So, challenges aside, Sneha, could you highlight an interesting case study using YouTube marketing?
So in terms of brands that have really benefited, we see a case study or two, more than that, in fact, every week, right? But what I talk about is essentially auto, and one of the main reasons is because I'm looking at a car. I'm looking for a car, right? I'm looking to update my car, and this it comes top of mind. One being, this something as simple as this, and I spoke about this earlier, that understanding the audience behind the screen or understanding the person behind the screen. There's interestingly around 2 years back, we started with this audience segment that is live events, right? And live events basically means that you can target people at a specific event in life. Now that's a eureka, right, for a brand, because there are so many brands that really are made for certain life events. Like for example, when someone's getting married, then you're going to either upgrade your car, buy more jewelry, look at home furnishing, right? So we started with a live event that was essentially around we have around marriage, graduation, moving, etc. But Volkswagen used this live event really really smartly, in fact, and they actually use this live event of marriage, and you can actually target people before and after. So they targeted people both before and after for the Vento, right? Essentially, Vento is a sedan, and when people get married, they had certain researches that prove that people tend to upgrade their car. So they targeted people in this life event, right? And they literally saw a 156% lift in ad recall, right? And to give you a ballpark, this is ridiculous, right? This is probably at least 5 to 7x of what you'd usually see. And the truth is, it's just that because you've got that audience sitting in front of you, and you know that they are your audience, and they actually made an ad which was contextual to people getting married. So it hits a nerve somewhere, right? And they saw 156% lift in just ad recall, and that barely happens because people don't really see all their ads, right? They skip their ads. So I think that was one, and the other one is to give you an example of car. And MG Motors really wanted to. The challenge was that obviously they had been hit by COVID, right? Shutting down factories, dealerships, all of that. They wanted to efficiently build booking pipelines for their cars, right? This was just at the beginning of lockdown, so they wanted to ensure that they had built their booking pipeline so that when things start opening up, they have enough of a leeway, or a sales pipeline of sorts. And they used what we call a video action campaign, and it's a video campaign or a video format made to make action very easy, right? We had TrueView for action in the past, and that's basically a format that makes it very interactive, makes it very easy for you to take action. And we proposed the video action campaign to them, and we gave them a few best practices, of course. and they literally saw 6% higher leads than normal scenarios, and a 10% higher traffic literally on their website than in normal situations. Now, the vision was to essentially even get the usual, even if they got 80% or 90% of the usual, that would be a lot. But they saw 6% higher leads, right, than their usual scenario at this point of the year. So I think that is really a true testament to the fact that people will have to return to digital. Brands, the ones who really understand and can sustain COVID, actually will return for at least performance marketing.
Hmm. Speaking about performance marketing, one of the aspects of the advertisement spaces on YouTube is the YouTube masthead. One of the most expensive ad spaces on the digital front, but also one of the most demanded ones. Tell me why a brand should consider a YouTube masthead in their strategy if they have the budgets.
Okay, Dakshin, my first response would be that ask them if they know the cost of the front page on print. And ask them why people still go for it when they have no idea of who's read it, what TG has read it, and how many returns they've gotten or walk-ins they've gotten from it, right? Because if you look at the comparison, we literally reach up around more than 100 million people on a day, literally in a day, and we have around 330 million monthly active users. And you would, on any digital platform, you see around 80% of the monthly active users really come on a daily basis.
Right.
That's a ridiculous number, right? So in terms of efficiency, the brands that are are buying the masthead, it gets booked out literally in the first minute that it is out. So it is an advanced booking, right? And it is done through certain agencies. So it is they pre-book the masthead, and then they run it through the year. But what we've actually done now is we've released a lot of this inventory to make what we've called CPM mastheads, or really mastheads targeted to a certain audience. So sometimes now you and me might not see the same masthead in a day. So that's the difference. You might be interested in something else, and I might be interested in something else. So we basically tell brands that we have a certain number of days now locked in for the masthead that is, that stays the same through the day across different platforms. And we have a certain amount of days really booked for people who can use that masthead space for audiences that would be relevant to them.
Nice. Now, stepping aside from performance marketing and getting more into content marketing, with the demand of shorter formats of videos increasing and Google launching Tangy, Instagram launching Reels, and now YouTube testing Shorts, do you think this is going to be a game changer for YouTube with introducing the shorter format of videos?
If you step back to how the consumer is behaving today, in fact, a year back, there was a research done that basically said that a human's attention span is now 8 seconds long, right? And that is 1 second lesser than that of a goldfish. So I don't think any of these platforms are really just creating with a vision to create short formats. I think it's mainly around just creating content that will be better consumed by people. And again, coming back to, I don't think it's only because the attention spans are shrinking, because people have so many options today, right? So you really have to get a hook to get them engaged. And I don't think this is really going to change the game or anything of that sort. The truth is that at least as YouTube, I look at each of these platforms as very, very different. Like TikTok is for entertainment, whereas Tanky is essentially it was created to teach, right? It was created to educate, DIY videos, etc., etc. And similarly, YouTube Shorts is different, and each of the platforms. I don't think it's going to change the game at all. I think people are creating shorter content with a hope to hook onto the consumers more easily. Having said that, longer format is still working. Most of the brands create content specifically for YouTube, which is the longer format, the full story that they can't really put on. They can't put on TV because it's too expensive. So I think it's not about people only going to in one direction of shorter formats. I think that what we are seeing now is the emergence of platforms that are dedicated to shorter formats. Having said that, I think for at least for YouTube or Google, we are just moving towards giving the consumer better experiences across different platforms.
And how's the brand segregating this from a shorter format and longer format, or is it all going to be integrated together?
There's no segregation really. At the end of the day, what the content that will be targeted to people will be based on what they are watching or what they tend to watch.
Good. But what about optimizing that content from an SEO point of view? How important is it to get your labels, tags, and keywords in place for the video?
Okay, so in terms of labels and tags, right, it is critical. So from a layman's point of view, think of it as there are two websites, right? And if you look at let's look at a website like Amazon, who has very high number of people visiting the website or really, interacting with the website, as opposed to, let's say, an absolutely new website that comes up today or tomorrow, which is another e-commerce website, and there are millions of them coming up right now, especially in terms of grocery, right? If they come up, the truth is that the traffic on Amazon is going to be a lot more for a certain reason, right? Because the consumer experience is better, because it has more data, because it has more, we know as Google at the back end in terms of SEO that it is literally, it works better, right? Or consumers tend to visit or spend more time there. Similarly with videos, at the end of the day, it's an algorithm at the back end, right, that runs. And hence, if you put in your tags, labels, you are more discoverable. While you're more discoverable, people will tend to watch you or interact with you or basically view through, that is, view you for a longer period. And hence, Google will show it up more, right? So, is SEO important? Very. Is it important to put in all your headlines, tags, labels? Definitely, right? As Google, do we share these best practices explicitly? No, we don't, just because we want to ensure that the ecosystem doesn't not benefit from the fact that everyone can't have an account manager.
Fair enough. And extending this conversation of content now to creators, Sneha, very curious to know what are the current opportunities for content creators when they associate with a brand on YouTube, and how do they go about monetizing?
So that's right. I work on the media side of things, and the creator side of things. The reason I know about the creator side of things is mainly because of brands. So there are various ways of engaging, interacting, making money or partnerships with brands, right? And I think one is, I think especially now, I think it's a green field right now. And the truth is that the bigger brands are finding it difficult to make. Let's take, like, literally now you see that the bigger brands are finding it difficult to make content, right? Production has literally stopped across. The only people who can produce right now are creators, right? And I'm not saying that our creative agencies will not get on board super fast in terms of the production hacks. I'm sure they will. But if you even look at it right now, the people who understand digital best, they are the creators. And brands finally need content to put out their messages. So, are there a million ways of integrating with brands? Definitely, right? The second piece is, when can you start really monetizing? So, a few days back, right, I was actually I had a series of fireside chats with creators. We had Sejal Kumar on one of them, and she actually mentioned that her first brand integration was very, very early, right? She had a few thousand subscribers, right? And that's really small. Like, she has subscribers in terms of in millions right now, right? But the truth is that she said that as long as you're relatable and as long as a brand thinks your audience is like a rich sauce, basically a certain TG, they're very engaged with you. Not only are your subscribers large, but they're really engaging with you on a day-to-day basis. Brands will not inhibit from working with you at the very beginning. Are you really going to make money out of YouTube in terms of ad sharing? Of course, that's another source of income that goes running, right? But I think the main source of income that I would actually think about is, it's literally in terms of brand integrations and partnerships. And to have brand integrations and partnerships, I think it's a green field right now. So I don't think it's even something that most creators should be afraid of at the moment.
And regardless of the fact that we talk about performance marketing or content creators, one thing that comes into our mind when we speak about YouTube marketing is analytics. Could you simplify YouTube analytics for us? And what is that most important matrix to judge your video, whether it's performing well or not, apart from just the views?
So simplifying YouTube analytics is a tall ask. But what I'll try to do is point out a few, in fact, one metric that I think is most important. Let's say two metrics, right? That is most important. One is your view through rate. And when we describe a view, or when we define a view rather on YouTube, it is 30 seconds. What you need to understand is, but how many people are really watching each video, and you literally get a drop off point, right? So when you look at YouTube analytics, you see a few drop off points where your audience drastically drops. Right. As a creator, I think that's most important, because you need to understand that where are you losing the hook? where are you losing your audience? Because the only way that you can grow as a creator by creating a base of loyalists, people who will go with you whichever brand you take, and that's when you become really valuable, right? And the second is really understanding your audiences. The gold mine on digital is audiences, right? We know the person behind the screen, and most people still can't fathom it, right? A lot of brands can't fathom it, that I can literally target people who want to buy baby wipes today, right, or in the last 1 week. That is a gold mine. And to understand your audience, I think for a creator's point of view is very important, because you need to then create for the audience that visits you. And again, this comes from the fireside chats that I recently ran with creators, right? A lot of them said this, that it's difficult, but I can't always be me. If I'm always me, I might not cater to the audience who visits me. So for me, I keep going back to YouTube analytics to check the audience as viewing my content and then making content that they would like to watch, right? Because as a creator, I need to be relatable, and I need to be relatable with my loyalists. So I think these two pieces, one is the view through rate or the drop of points, and secondly is really understanding your audience.
And apart from understanding your consumers, what are the tips that you would give brands and individuals to get their YouTube marketing right?
I think overarching one is ensure that your platform or your operations are seamless. And when I say that, I mean that if you're targeting someone, if you're taking someone to a certain website as a part of your marketing strategy, ensure that it's a great website, right? Today, you need to understand that most people are working on their phones. 80% of searches are on your phones, right? So if people are using their phones, you need to ensure that you use either progressive web apps or, like basically mobile friendly websites, right? If it's operations in terms of, service centers, right? Let's say a Eureka Forbes once is advertising, but their service centers don't have the bandwidth to really answer all these, then this is when your marketing strategy is going to fail. So firstly, you need to ensure that that is in place. The second is what I truly believe is that you need to make your advertising or your marketing strategy completely contextual today. Because we know the person behind the screen, you need to ensure that your content is created for the audience that you're targeting. So those are the two overarching. Now, always industries that are more branding focused, and there are always industries that are more performance focused, right? I think branding focused, I'd leave you with one piece, that is never overestimate the power of your brand. There are a lot of brands that think that we do not, the CPG brands, or anyone who thinks that I'm a legacy brand, I do not need to advertise for my brand search terms, right? As simple as brand keywords. Or I do not need to focus on branding or awareness. That's not true, because everyone has options today. We literally see that out of the searches, most people have started looking for best instead of the brand, right? And when they look for best instead of the brand, we see around 70% of them discovering new brands. Ensure that you are present. Being present is key. In terms of performance, I think digital is a gold mine. The truth is that we keep saying that you can get enough branding out of it, or you can get enough reach out of it, because we have as much scale now. But what we were always good at is performance, right? So again, coming back to when you're on performance, ensure that you have cloud, you have your analytics, everything integrated. Because if you can use the power of technology and automation, then there is absolutely no way that your marketing budgets can't bring you ROI, right? Because if you can really use the power of your ADH, cloud, analytics, right, then we literally can get you profits on your sales. And hence, as a performance marketer, we need to embrace automation and technology, but embracing automation and embracing technology will only help you get a higher ROI.
Right. Now, Sneha, it's time for my favorite segment of the show, which is basically a rapid fire round. I'm going to be throwing 6 questions at you, and I need you to be really prompt at this. Are you ready for this?
Yes, of course.
Awesome. So the first question, what's the process to crack an interview in YouTube for people who want to work for Google?
Dakshin, there's no answer for that. There's literally no answer. for that. That is a question that has no answer. If I had cracked it, then I'm sure I would be in a much better space within Google. Right? So there literally is no answer for that. That every role is completely different. All I know is that every single day that I'm working at Google, I feel special about the literally the level of smartness around me, right? So I don't know how our HR teams do this, but they're clearly doing a brilliant job of it. But what is the answer to that question? I have no idea.
I would then get into how did you crack this?
I'd like to believe I'm lucky. I keep trying to remember everything I did on those days, right? I went through 7 rounds of interviews to get into Google, and I literally went through 9 rounds of interview to get into the current role that I'm in when I was already a Googler, which is 5 years back. So I can't. I keep trying, but I keep trying to remember what exactly did I do on those days because I definitely got lucky.
Great. You already spoke about the talent, but apart from that, what is the best thing about working for Google?
So, firstly, I think you already fathomed that that's talent. I think that talent is top notch. Secondly, our policies, right? With Google, one of our responsibilities per quarter is our KPI to grow other Googlers. I think that key at Google, and talent is what I am really grateful at Google at the moment.
Nice. If you had a YouTube channel, what would it be about and what would you call it?
so, yeah, that's a good question. I'm really not much of a creative person. I have recently, I think what I would do best at is, given the recent times, I think is shopping on Amazon. And today is when I discovered that there are channels that, literally are on shopping on Amazon, given the current times. But I think home improvements, I don't know if it's just a factor of the current times and the amount of time I'm spending at home, but I love home improvements, and that is where most of my online shopping goes. So yeah, that would be home improvement. And it would be, I don't know like I said, I'm not creative at all, but probably home chronicles. I don't know, but it's just, yeah, I guess home chronicles.
Very cool. Okay, so who are your favorite YouTubers?
Okay, so again, YouTube, I really go to YouTube to just see the same, like literally on my day-to-day basis. Like I'm looking for a car right now, so I go to YouTube and say comparison for cars. But I think two of my favorite YouTubers at the moment, right, is one has been an all-time favorite, and he's also a friend of mine, Raghav Miyagi. He makes great music, and I love singer-songwriters, new music. I love listening to new music. So I think one is Raghav Miyagi. The second is, in fact, recently Prajakta Kohli, and that's essentially because she came on a fireside chat with creators. I had not watched her video before. That girl's really witty, really quick, really interesting, very humble. Right. So since then, in the last 2 weeks, I've been following her active.
Okay. 3 channels that you recommend on YouTube for people to follow.
I would not. I would just say get onto YouTube on a daily basis to make your life simpler. Right? Use it for your comparisons, use it for how to, use it for efficiency, all of that. Like I use it for more efficient ways of literally cutting vegetables because before lockdown I hadn't done it. And I've realized that, wow, there are real hacks out there.
Nice. Great answer, Sneha. Now moving into a question from our users. And this is a question that comes from Arjun Rai, who asks, there is a saying that to get your first 1,000 subscribers on your channel is the most difficult part. What's a tried and tested rule, and what's the kind of budget that I should be spending on the content to attain it?
So, firstly, I think as an individual creator, it's more about getting to 1,000 subscribers is not hard. And this is not something that I think I'm capable of. But as a creator, most creators don't find it difficult. And the reason I say this is because, again, about my interactions with creators. I recently spoke to Flying Beast. I don't know if you all know him, but he's basically a pilot, a national bodybuilder, national level bodybuilder, and also a fitness enthusiast. This is how his story went, right? I was chatting with him and I said that how did you start a YouTube channel? You were an engineer from IIT Kharagpur and then became a pilot. And he actually said that, Sneha, I used to go to a gym because I really like going to a gym for 45 minutes every day. Suddenly someone asked me that maybe I should start competing because I seem good at it. And I started competing. I literally started winning competitions with everyone who was working out the entire day. And people started asking for tips at the gym. So the gym owner kicked me out. And he started it, and he's got over 3 million subscribers right now. And this has been his audience from the very beginning. And he said, and you know what was really shocking to me is that he not only has 3 million subscribers, he had a video that he released around 2 days back, and today it has 1.2 million views. That means half of his audience is literally watching every video of his. Right, and he releases a video every day. So I don't think it's difficult to get to 1,000 subscribers. I think, again, I'm not the expert here, but what I've learned from my interactions with creators and brands is that making it relatable clearly works. Making it relatable, understanding your audience, and creating contextual content works. That's one. Second is the frequency of content that you put out really works, right? Because people want someone they can relate to on a daily basis. Nowadays, people spend a lot of time on digital and they want to ensure that they have content to watch. If you don't go there, like I said, it's a whiteboard. Someone else is going to be there to engage in their free time, right? And in terms of the amount of money you should be spending, I think that is completely I think as an individual content creator, before 1,000 subscribers, first, you should not be spending money. I think you should first build your content in terms of your user base and let the brand spend for you. But yeah, I don't think you should be spending money before you even get to 1,000 subscribers. And post, it depends on the size that you're already at and the audience base that you already have. But yeah, until you get 1,000 subscribers, don't even think about starting to spend money on ads.
Okay. Amazing stuff, Sneha. Thank you so much, firstly, for teaching us all about YouTube marketing. And thank you so much for being a part of the Deliberate Talks podcast.
Hey, thanks a lot, Dakshin. I think it was a lot of fun for me. I am sorry I could not answer most of your rapid fire questions, but I promise I tried my best.
Not at all. I think it was fantastic, Sneha. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Well, that's it for today's episode. Hope you learned something new about YouTube marketing. So now go and create that content and market it well on YouTube. If you have any feedback about the show, you can mail it on deliberatetalks@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow the Deliberate Talks and the Pixelated Egg Digital Ventures on our social media platforms. Join us next week for another conversation with another expert. Till then, inspire and be inspired.